Welcome into the Vegas Squares podcast, where we discuss all things sports and sports betting. Presented by 12 Ounce Sports Radio. All right, welcome into the next edition of the Vegas Squares podcast. We are sitting here on Saturday after... Oh, no, it's Sunday, isn't it?
It is Sunday.
It is Sunday. Okay, so we're sitting here on Sunday, scratch that, after a wild, not complete, but wild first weekend of college football, which I know is Spike's favorite sport to watch and cover, so he's going to do a lot of that over the next hour or so. What's up, Spike?
Yippee.
The enthusiasm is just dripping down off of your shiny beard.
Well, it's partially that and partially the fact that I had to wake my happy ass up so goddamn early because my wife's now on suicide watch with the Nate Schmidt news, which we can talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Another time,
a little hockey talk, but...
oh, God.
Yeah,
she is a miserable person right now.
I can't confirm 100%, but I think I'm proud to say I think I broke that news to the sin bin.
Did you?
Because I tweeted it and he said... He said, "Oh," so I'm not sure.
Oh boy,
interesting.
But anyways, there was a wild week in college football. Congratulations to your boys, UNLV. They covered. They got slaughtered, but they covered.
They're actually winning for a decent amount of time in the game.
That is partially true. Yes, there was a time in the second quarter and early in the third they were actually leading USC. So
wow.
That's something for Tony Sanchez to hang his hat on there.
Hey, there we go. That should get him a 4-year extension.
Yeah, well, at this point, I mean, it's small victories. After losing to Howard as a 45-point favorite, it hasn't been much to really celebrate in the UNLV locker room. So.
Oh, God, they're fucking terrible.
Well, before you all turn off your 12-ounce sports radio dials or flip over to a different podcast, we'll cut out the UNLV. We just want to say congrats on covering, because... Here at Vegas Squares, that's kind of all we care about, really, sometimes. Good coaches win, but great coaches cover, and that makes us money. So, so let's talk about, in this show, we're going to talk a little bit of college football. Obviously, recap the picks from our last podcast, our Picks and Chatter podcast, if you haven't heard that. Well, it's probably too late now. All the picks have been played at this point. So we'll recap the picks, talk about where we went wrong, because I actually had some good picks, but then I had some not-so-good picks. We'll talk about those. We'll talk a little NFL in this podcast as well. We want to thank the sponsors, VGK Pop Sockets, Chai Poker, and 12 Ounce Sports Radio for supporting us. Just want to give a big shout-out to all those guys. Check out VGK Pop Sockets to get yourself what looks like a kickstand for the back of your cell phone. And listen to 12 Ounce Sports Radio, not just our show, but all the shows on there. Definitely doing big things over there. So, all right, let's jump in. I was watching a few college football games this weekend. And I was looking at, I didn't know this, I guess I wasn't paying good enough attention as a sports podcast, but one of the first kickoffs in one of the games, I think it was Ole Miss versus Texas Tech. Guy takes a fair catch on the opening kickoff or second kickoff at the 5-yard line. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Then I realized if they do it inside the 20, they automatically get it into the 25-yard line, the fair catch. It's supposed to, a safety rule, basically. A player safety rule, and also a field position rule. But it blew my mind. I was like, what is going on? I guess I didn't pay enough attention this summer to college football. I can see Spike's eyes getting real wide here. What are your initial thoughts when I say something like that?
Well, obviously I hadn't heard about this because I'm not the college football guy of this team. So, as far as a player safety issue, I get it. As far as a field position issue, I get it. I know that this is the type of change that all football leagues, professional, amateur, high school, whatever, they've been looking to make some kind of change to make the game safer. And having this kickoff, essentially the ball gets placed on the 25-yard line nearly regardless of what you do unless you actually try to run it.
Correct. You can still run it.
Right. From a safety perspective, that makes sense. I'm trying to think because... we all know that Bill Belichick's thing now is with the NFL going to the 25. The rules committee. Yeah, with the NFL going to the 25-yard line, Belichick's going to kick it into the within 3 yards of the corner of the end zone and force the other team to run it out.
Yeah, that was my thought initially. Is strategically, I would squib it.
Yeah,
you can't fair catch a squib once it hits the ground at least once. I would imagine, right?
Right, but yeah, I mean that's really about the only thing that I can think of off the top of my head where you can kind of get around this.
That's what I'm saying. If you're talking about Bill Belichickian loopholes,
right?
That seems like the way to go.
Yeah, the whole thing is it makes sense to me. I'm just I'm obviously not a fan of something that takes plays away from the game.
Takes the ability for players to make
Players need to make plays. The game needs to be decided on the field. It can't be decided in the boardroom by the rules committee.
Yeah, and that weird voice you hear saying strange things throughout Spike's. What do you call that? What's the word I'm looking for?
I have no idea what you're trying to say.
Your dribble. We'll just go with that. In between Spike's dribble, you hear and haha, and that guy right there. That's Token Tony. He's on the phone with us because he was too lazy to wake up on time and come into the studio. Token, what are your thoughts on the impact of what this kickoff rule means? Just what you saw in week 1 of the college football season.
It's definitely an indication of every league that's implementing it right now for player safety, for sure. It makes it fair and reasonable, but I do like your loophole around it. I mean, if you squid it a little and ball hits the ground before the player...
correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't a ball have to travel a certain height for a fair catch to be an option at that point?
A certain height?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the rules. I'm basically just kind of theorizing here. I mean, if I kick the ball in the air, like a standard kickoff, they can fair catch it, go to the 25, yada, 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 this. Doesn't waste any time. But if I squib it, there's got to be basically no way. Like, once the ball leaves my foot, you would essentially just have to wave your hand in the air at that point.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. That is interesting concept. I'm trying to look up something about that right now.
I mean, I think if they're going to put that loophole in, they should offer the kicking team an ability to kind of almost have a coffin corner, punt style. If they can fair catch and go out to the 25, you should be able to try to pin them by kicking the ball out of bounds. What do you think about something like that? Like coffin corner style.
Yeah, I mean...
Because effectively, you score, you go down, you kick off, and... Why don't we just start at 25 at this point?
Yeah, I was going to say, why don't you just give the kicking team the option to not even put players on the field? Just say, give them the ball at the 25.
I mean, I think the only reason they don't do that is onside kick purposes.
Right, well...
which is another dangerous part of the game.
But that's allegedly. What I'm saying. You give the kicking team the option of how they want to play it.
Right.
Like, if they want to go up there and line up and actually kick it and hope the guy touches it and drops it, or... if they don't care that the other player is going to fair catch it and take it to the 25, or if they want to onside kick, like you give the kicking team the option, but you just say, if the kicking team decides, yeah, we're not going to fucking bother, we want to save our kicker's leg strength for field goal kick later, yeah, then you just kind of wave it and, you tell the referees, put the ball in the 25-yard line and let's get on with it.
Well, then, how long until we're taking more and more plays out of this game?
Yeah, and that's sort of the side effect that I can see coming is, once you start taking one type of dangerous play out, you're going to take another and another and another.
Because I can see the punt. I mean, what do we do with punts at that point? Because punt returns are another, ball goes in the air, the guy's virtually defenseless, and guys are running full speed after him trying to take his head off.
Yep.
So, I mean...
Or even the punter himself, if the team's trying to block it and
sure.
A lineman's pushing a player out of the way that pushes him right into the punter, that becomes a dangerous play in that mindset.
Another fair assessment. I mean, it's going to be tough. It's not something that's going to make the game, drastically different, but it does create some scenarios for... It creates scenarios like Belichick. It's situational. When do we kick it deep? When do we kick it short? When do we squib it? Do we just blast it and then just let them have it on the 25? Because the thing is those guys who are running down the field on a kickoff have to continue running full speed, and the guys who are protecting the kickoff may or may not see the fair catch signal being waved. So they're still playing full speed until the whistle's blown. So you're still actually probably having some injuries between the two lines on special teams. So if you're really trying to make the game theoretically safer, you're really only doing it for one guy at that point.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, unless the receiving team has told their players, "Hey, we're going to fair catch it," so
yeah, good point.
Kind of take it easy.
We haven't told the kicking team that though.
Well, yeah, but the kicking team's going to run full speed, and the receiving team's just going to kind of stand there and play matador defense.
But see, should you? What if the guy drops it though?
If he drops it, then you're fucked.
Yeah, exactly.
You just have to have confidence that the 18-year-old with 120,000 people watching him and screaming his name in the stadium, he's got to catch the fucking ball. So. If he's got the nerves to do that. This does bring up an interesting side conversation, which we can have now or another time, but it's something I've always thought about.
Fuck it, it's Sunday, let's do it.
What is the more pathetic scenario in sports? Is it a punter trying to make a tackle or a pitcher trying to get a hit in Major League Baseball?
Punter trying to get a tackle.
Because they both look so pathetic when they're out there.
I'll say there's a percentage of pitchers that can hit a baseball. I don't think there's any percentage of punters that can tackle.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll go with punters. It looks silly.
It always looks silly in both sides. I think I'm slightly leaning towards you, although I've seen more baseball games in my life where pitchers have tried to hit, and it's laughable. I mean, I don't know.
And you know what's amazing about that too is, I mean, I don't know what sports you guys played in high school and college or whatever, but like when I played ball in high school, pitchers could hit. You had to hit, and they could. It's like, at what point in time did you stop learning how to swing a bat like a natural human being? I mean, I understand I've never hit MLB pitching, and I get it, and they look fantastically awful, but sometimes MLB pitchers goat one right down the middle, and they're still like 3 feet off.
Yep.
So
yeah, and that's kind of my point. Is just
they should be taught at least how to put the ball in play.
Yeah, but
move a runner, bunt. It's amazing to me how many players in the MLB can't bunt.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I remember we'd spend a day on bunting and fungo drills, which I don't know if you know fungo.
Oh yeah.
Fungo is basically infield practice.
Yeah.
But you'd take infield all day, and you would come in for your BP session, and you would bunt. That was it. You wouldn't swing the bat. You would bunt the ball.
Yeah.
You had to bunt to third. You had to bunt to first. You had to bunt to the pitchman. They can't do it anymore.
Yeah, and people my favorite is when somebody tries to bunt and they wrap their hand around the front of the bat.
Crack their knuckles.
Yeah, it's like, how have you never watched somebody else bunt before? Like, how have you never practiced this on your own?
And you got to admit, like, guys like probably Stanton growing up probably never bunted.
Oh, no.
I mean, there were guys in our lineup where we'd practice bunting, but there was no way, I don't care what the situation was, coach was putting the bunt signal.
Oh, yeah. David Ortiz used to say when he was a kid growing up in the Dominican Republic, the saying was, you don't walk to the major leagues. Mm-hmm. So you don't take pitches, you don't bunt, you don't make sacrifices. You try to hit the ball out of the park.
That is fair. Especially if you're a DH or a first baseman or a corner position, I would say yes. I mean, if you're a middle infielder, I remember the middle infielders, that I played with, they couldn't hit worth a darn, but I mean, they decent, 225, 230 hitters, but their defense was fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, I was able to get where I was. I was an average hitter, but I caught. So if you have a good catcher, he doesn't have to be the greatest hitter.
Yeah.
So there are some positions where you can sacrifice hitting in terms of defense. Usually it's straight up the middle. It's usually where your average players offensively are. Your corner positions are your power hitters. Anyways, so not to get too far off on a tangent, let's wrap up the kickoff rule. Basically, it's going to be an interesting situational dynamic to the season. I don't hate it. It just kind of threw me off the first time I saw it. I'm like, first I'm like, why? Because I had Ole Miss, and we'll talk about the picks. I had Ole Miss, and I'm like, why the fuck are you fair catching at the 5-yard line? It's not a. First of all, even if it was a punt, why are you fair catching at the 5-yard line? Let it bounce and take your chances. And so that's when I started doing my research and found out, they changed things in the off season. So, anyways, let's move on. Still talking about college football. I don't know if you guys watched the Louisville-Alabama game because it got out of hand pretty early. But after the game, Maria Taylor of ESPN decided for the 37 millionth time to ask Nick Saban about the quarterback situation. And if you didn't watch the game, Hurts played a little bit. And I'm going to butcher this, Tagovailoa played the majority of the game, had a great game, had 2 touchdowns, change through the air. But Maria still found time to ask Nick Saban, and he lost his mind. He didn't lose his mind, but he blew up a little bit on her, and now social media is basically butthurt by it. But, I mean, if you're Nick Saban and for 9 months you've been asked the same question over and over again, I mean, at some point you're going to lose your cool. It just happened to be on the field after you won by, I think they won by like 40 points.
Yeah, I mean, reporters have to ask the questions because, you know, if they don't, then I can imagine their editors or bosses or whoever getting upset at them for not asking the question.
After that game, there's got to be so much more you can talk about.
Oh, no, of course. It does seem short-sighted to me. But, you know, I don't trust the media to do anything the right way, so.
Fair enough. Token.
Yeah, the media just likes to create stories, blow up issues and all that coaches or players don't want to talk about. And
well, the thing is, I mean, if you're not a complete fucking fool, I mean, it was shown basically on the field. I mean, Tagovailoa was 12 of 16 for 227, a touchdown pass and a touchdown run. And I believe Jalen Hurts,
he went 5 of 9 for 70 yards.
I'd say it was like 5 of 10 or something like that. Yeah, he virtually didn't have a lot of impact on the offense. So, without asking that question, I think you can answer that question. I think all they're really trying to do is
get
Saban to piss one of these quarterbacks off. And the thing is he's not going to answer that question in the offseason because if you say, okay, well, Hurts is my guy for week 1, well, Tua's going to transfer and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
Or if they say, well, we're going with Tua, well, then Jalen Hurts is out of there. And why throw one away when what if Tua gets hurt? I mean, this is Alabama football. They don't take days off at this point. You need to get one back in there.
No, but the flip side of that is Alabama football has never relied on a quarterback to win their championships.
No, but finally we have a quarterback in I'm going to try this. Tagovailoa. It's good enough.
Seemed good to me.
Tagovailoa, Hawaii. That sounds like a city. We finally have one that's good enough that actually led them back to a national title versus just rolling over an opponent. I think last year's Alabama team showed that they have the ability to stomp you, play from behind. They're never out of a game now with this quarterback.
No, and I agree with that, but again, this is not a philosophy that Saban has ever used in his coaching career.
I understand.
So it's, you know, if there is a coach in college football that can play with mediocre to bad quarterbacks, it's Saban. So if one of them goes out there and still does a poor job and Alabama still looks good, he's not going to mind. So there's no, you know, you're right. There's no benefit for him to say we're going to go with one over the other.
So, Token, let me ask you this. Do you read anything with this? Is after Hurts came out, Tagovailoa came back in, and then through the fourth quarter, redshirt freshman Mac Jones played. I mean, is that a spot where we could have seen Jalen Hurts get more reps, even though the game was out of hand, or is that just a situation where we know what we've seen in Jalen after, 3 years of basically, him playing quarterback as a starter?
I think it was Saban's call to be like, we already know what Hurts is like, and just kind of keep him healthy if Tua gets injured during the season or something. I mean, just kind of protect him a little.
Yeah, that's probably what I was thinking too. Is the fact that you know what you got in both these guys. If anything, you would have left Tua out there for more reps. But the game's in hand. Why get hurt? They got a practice game next Saturday against Arkansas State. So that'll be the official tune-up for I think what they start SEC play in Week 3. So. Probably a wiser decision. I don't know. And you're right. And you can bash the media all you want. It just, this is what we do, though. The media plays the victim after you've bombarded this guy. And I'm sure ESPN, Maria Taylor's an ESPN, employee. I'm sure her and dozens of other of her colleagues at this station have asked Nick Saban about who he's going to go with at quarterback. And frankly, virtually, who cares? Like you said, Nick Saban's not worked with a quarterback for most of his championship teams. So realistically, let's talk about all the other guys on this team that are basically the reason that they're going to probably win another national title.
Right, and
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think part of it too is the fact that a 2-quarterback system is rare. I mean, teams
In today,
don't,
yeah.
teams don't do that anymore. The last team that did it successfully was
Florida. Tebow and Leak.
Yeah, that might be it.
That was probably 12, 13 years ago. I think that was 05 or something like that. But
Yeah, right around there.
I mean, there's just no. Sorry, there's just it's so rare, and for a team that is usually quarterback deficient to have two theoretically
Quality.
capable quarterbacks that can go out there and win games for you. You know, it's I can see the rationale for asking the questions and trying to figure out why they're doing it, but
at what point do you just give up on the question?
yeah, at some point,
Because I'm sure next Friday at the press conference before the game, or Thursday, whenever they have it, you know, somebody's going to ask, all right, who's going? Well, based on this game, who do you think's going? I mean, just make an educated decision. It probably would be a better article to read if you gave me your insights versus you quoting the question where he blows up on you. But you know what? As a media member, not us particularly, but people who are in the media probably think the better story is him blowing up on Maria Taylor than them asking the question for the 40th billionth time. And that's the problem. I understand.
Absolutely, yeah.
I understand that people are upset the way he reacted, but if you pay attention to the last 9 months, this is the 300,000th question or time this question's asked. So at some point, you know, if you as a person, no matter what you're in, if your boss or if one of your colleagues kept asking you the same thing over again, at some point you're going to say, dude, shut the fuck up, in nicer words.
I don't know if there would be nicer words.
Well, I mean, Nick Saban probably has to do it nicer on ESPN. But you know what? I think Nick Saban's the one coach that could basically tell ESPN to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, and ESPN would actually listen.
And ESPN would be like, all right, cool. Yeah, you got it, boss. Based on the large SEC contract that they have with ESPN right now, I think Nick Saban could probably tell them to shut the hell up. So, anyways, that's enough. We'll talk about it. I'm sure that, actually, one more thing I wanted to say on that was basically, I think that Nick Saban, another reason he's not saying is because eventually I think as long as Tagovailoa plays this way, Hurts is going to get phased out by week 5. As far as not phased out of the program, but he'll be a full-time starter by week 4 or 5.
You think it'll take that long?
Unless they decide after next week that going into SEC play they need to have a steady force. Because both guys can run, both guys can pass. It's not like one guy does one thing well and the other guy does the other thing well. Both guys on their feet, you know, they have a bonus of being able to run, and Tagovailoa is the better passer. It's evident over the last 2 games, well, a game and 1/2, that Tagovailoa is the better arm. So it may only take till the start of the SEC opener, which I think they play like Ole Miss or something like that. So yeah, we'll see. I was thinking no later than week 5, Tagovailoa, provided he still continues to play this way, will be the clear-cut starter. There won't be this controversy here in the next month. So, anyways, last 3 podcasts that you've been on, Spike, and I think the last 3 podcasts that we've had that weren't picks and chatter, we've been talking about Urban Meyer.
Yep.
And his Buckeyes finally set foot on the field without him. And to say they rolled was an understatement. I believe the final score was 55-14 or something like that.
They gave up 14 points, those fucking slackers.
That might not be the actual score, but they did give up a couple touchdowns. I know that because I had the big teaser on them, and they. Oh, excuse me. That's not the right score at all.
Oh.
It was 77-31. I forgot.
They gave up 31.
They gave up 31 points.
Wow. Suspend everybody.
Yeah. They definitely. No, I don't want to say that. That's bad. I was going to say they committed domestic violence on the Oregon State.
Oh. Wow. It's good we don't have bosses because we would have just been fired.
I am the boss. I wouldn't have said that if somebody was actually cutting me a check. I guess 12 ounce is our boss, kind of, but he didn't cut me a check either. So
yeah.
77-31 was actually the final score. I think I turned it off when it was like 55-14. But obviously, is there any concern? Like you said, they gave up 31 points, but they did score, nearly 80. Any concern with the opening showcase of Ohio State football minus Urban Meyer?
No, I mean this was sort of the expected outcome, and this was what I think people, even the administration that suspended Urban Meyer, knew that the first 2 games were going to be not easy because, again, any given week anybody can win.
Right.
As we saw with whatchamacallit almost beating Penn State this week.
Yeah, you called it too. You were talking about it. You said App State,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always liked them. And I was in Boone, North Carolina over the summer. It's beautiful there.
Is that where App State is?
Yeah.
Boone?
It's absolutely gorgeous. Also never gets above like 85 in the summer because it's up in the mountains.
That is nice.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's actually wonderful. I just recommended a friend of mine move there, actually. No, it's one of those scenarios where even with the implication that any team can theoretically beat any other team, even in college football where spreads are fucking ridiculous as opposed to the NFL that has significantly better parity.
Right. I mean, you're going to have teams that come out a little flat, Michigan State, Penn State. So, there's teams that are going to have more issues. I mean, Villanova, an FCS opponent, beat Temple. I mean, it doesn't bode well. I was looking at the strength of schedule for UCF. Temple losing to an FCS opponent doesn't really bode well for UCF's strength of schedule.
Yeah, so it's just. But again, I think the concern wasn't, even with the administration suspending Urban Meyer, it wasn't a fear that Ohio State would lose. It was a fear that Ohio State might give up 30-something points because the team was distracted by Urban Meyer getting suspended.
Yeah, and Token, this isn't the game they're worried about, right?
Oh, absolutely not. That's going to be week 3 for sure.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, the guys had good games on the field. Haskins, the new quarterback, looked good. There wasn't too much of an issue there. I mean, again, they play Rutgers next week. Probably shouldn't be this big of a blowout. Probably still be, a 4-touchdown game at that point. But the 31 points really makes me worry about the TCU game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, do you think there's a defensive flaw on them that they're going to be a lot closer game in the TCU game, or?
Well, I mean, closer game.
Or
two ranked opponents, they should have a close game. I wonder now if the way TCU looked against, again, they had a cupcake as well, in Southern, which I don't know where Southern actually is located, but I just know it's not in the north.
Wow. Thanks for that, Magellan.
I'm Descartes, bitch. It just makes me wonder that, Patterson's going to have them ready, and I don't know, again, we don't know Meyer's ability to stay in contact with his coaching staff and his team, but, is the defense going to be ready to take on this offense at TCU? We've talked about it already, that the first 3 games are going to be cupcake, a little bit of a test. After watching that first game, I'm not worried about their offense, but we'll see if their defense can actually put it together, because I actually was initially thinking in that game an underplay would be a good bet, because both teams did have good defenses. So I'll have to watch Ohio State's next game against Rutgers to really see, hopefully they won't give up 31 points, but if they do, start to look lax on offense, lax on offense, they may have a closer game with Rutgers than they planned for. So.
Yeah, and, part of it too is trying to figure out exactly what kind of animal you're going to get out of Rutgers, because I don't know. I don't know too much about them personally, but I can't imagine, they're going to come out flat and think, oh, this is the type of team we're supposed to lose to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to come out angry, hungry, and try to make a name for themselves on this game.
Sure. I mean, they don't care who's on the sidelines. They want to come out and beat you. They've been pretty much a doormat in the Big Ten. They won their first game against Texas State by 4 touchdowns. So they're going to give it a shot. So, all right, well, let's talk about our picks, because some I was pretty proud of, some I was less than proud of. And since Spike didn't make his picks, he can laugh at us a little bit.
Yes.
Token, go ahead and kind of start. We'll start with you and recap some of the picks that you had. I think we both took Tennessee.
That was by far my worst pick, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to personally apologize for anybody who laid on Tennessee, which is funny because when we recorded the actual podcast, they weren't even part of my 5 picks, but I woke up in the morning, for whatever reason, felt compelled that the 10 points was just too good to pass up, which we know in anything in Vegas, if it's too good of a deal, it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So what else did you have as far as, your winners and or your losers?
I actually saw one early on Saturday that I liked. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get it before the kickoff, but I was able to get it in play I took the over in the Appalachian State Penn State game,
Okay.
which at the time was looking good, and then at halftime was looking awful, and then the outcome ended up being good. Yeah, I got it over 59.5 when it was 10-7 in the first quarter.
Nice. Yeah, that was a fun game. I would have loved to see Penn State go down, not because I have any personal vendetta against them, but anytime, a smaller school at G5, because App State, ever since beating Michigan, they've now become FBS program now at this point. They're not FCS anymore, so they're in what's called the G5, basically, the group of five. And they're still slight giants. They're at least giving it a best effort. I mean, they didn't beat them, but I feel like that's almost like a loss for Penn State because you know what? In the end of the year, the committee's going to see that whole, you almost got beat by a fucking. I think they're in like the Sun Belt Conference.
Yeah,
Something like that. Yeah.
So, what else you got?
I actually rolled that bet over into Notre Dame. I waited to be on Notre Dame, and I got it at plus 135 on the money line.
Nice. Yeah, they moved that line. Let's talk about that for a second because I was amazed. I was listening. I drive to work at night, and there's a radio show on Fox Sports called Straight Out of Vegas. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. Local guy.
Yeah, I listened to it on the way home.
Yeah, local guy here who does our ESPN radio hosts the show with RJ Bell. Are you familiar with RJ Bell?
Oh, I know RJ Bell, yeah.
Yeah, he hosts the show. RJ Bell's basically the wise guy, so to speak. And then a couple other guys come on, a couple guys from pregame.com, which if you're familiar with that. And basically, I believe it was in June, the lines came out for week 1 of college football. And the line came out for Notre Dame -7 over Michigan. And they basically said that Michigan was going to get beaten by Notre Dame, but they weren't sure if you should take the 7 points. They thought it would be closer than that. That line, since it opened all the way until the start of game time, moved 10 points. Moved from -7 on Notre Dame to it closed, I believe, either 2.5 or 3 for Michigan.
Yeah, it's all plus 3, yeah.
That's absurd. That's a hell of a movement. I mean, every year it seems like these guys jump on Harbaugh, and this guy's yet to win a big game in college.
Yes, especially on the road in Notre Dame, to have it move that much. I mean, even in the last week before the game, it moved from Notre Dame being a 2-point favorite to a 3-point dog.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a lot of money to drive that line that fast.
Yeah, for it to move 5 points in the last week it's just crazy to think about.
And that was probably the most bet game of the week, too.
Oh, I would imagine. And the thing that really I look back on it is whoever put that line out, whatever odds or maker or computer system or algorithm, nailed it. 4 months ago.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Or 3 months ago, and everybody just said, no way. Because I know there were people saying, that line's too far off. I listened to one guy on Fox Sports on Jason McIntyre. He's like, that line's way too far off. Michigan's a better team, blah, 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 this and that. And Michigan couldn't get anything done yesterday. So,
no, they were actually kind of lucky to make it a 7-point game.
That's true. Yeah, Shea Patterson didn't impress me at all, which he's supposed to be, this savior for Michigan football. So maybe going, his first game in Notre Dame, maybe a little bit too much for him. He may still be okay to win the Big Ten, but, he definitely didn't look good on Saturday night. But you and I both had Notre Dame. I had him at a pick 'em. I didn't wait. I took them. I thought they'd win the game outright. I took them basically. I gave up. What'd you say? You had them at plus 130, you said?
Plus 135, yeah.
Okay, so I gave up about what did you say? About 45 cents of juice in that point, but I'm okay with it. I didn't. I didn't think the line would get that far out of control.
Well, I was surprised that it moved that much. Yeah.
So, was that any other picks you had? Pluses or minuses?
Later in the day after that game, I took BYU in game. I got them at plus 7.5, and I took them on the money line at plus 270.
Gotcha.
Put a little sprinkle on that, but besides that, I didn't really have too much other action.
All right, Spike. I'll let you off. I'll let you hear. You ready to get your laughing goggles on?
All right. What do you got?
All right. So I took FAU plus 21. They got beat by like 60. I don't know what the actual score was, but Lane Kiffin basically. Did you hear about Lane Kiffin came on Dan Patrick and basically, Dan Patrick was like, hey, what's your guys' game plan for coming into Oklahoma? And he goes, we don't have one. We're going to get our doors blown in. He fucking said that.
What?
He said, we don't want to play. We don't have the players. We don't have the talent. We don't have the skills. We're not there on Oklahoma's level yet. Have you seen them play?
Wow. Talk about a motivator, huh?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
He is like the Jay Cutler of coaching college football.
They did put up 14 points, though.
Yeah, what did he do? So I had them plus 21. I also took Houston in the first half against Rice. I took them minus 16 because I thought they'd get out and then rest their starters. They were actually losing in the first half, so that wasn't good. We talked about UMass and Boston College. I talked about UMass scoring 60 points last week and how they wouldn't do it again. Well, they didn't, but Boston College scored nearly 60, so the over was or the under 63 was no good. So, because I didn't think Boston College had the ability to score more than 30 points.
Yeah, BC is usually only good about once a decade.
Yeah, well, this must have been it this weekend. I liked Troy at home against Boise. They forgot to put their pants on. And Illinois, I thought, would beat Kent State, considering Kent State was a team in disarray who just hired a coach and basically has no offense. Well, they did win, but they only won by 10. So, although I did have a decent monetary day because I did bank a lot of Thursday and Friday games. I hit UCF. Marshall minus 2 on the road against Miami of Ohio was a win. Let's see. I still have one more in play. Virginia Tech and Florida State. I got the under 55.5. I took Western Kentucky to cover 37. So you'll get this one. They get down 31-0 in the second quarter. And I'm like, fuck, this ticket's burned. They lose 34-3. Pink. Covered. The Ole Miss was my pride and joy this week. I was pretty excited about that one because Texas Tech was getting all the love. They were in Jerry World in Texas, and they were getting pounded. Ended up catching Ole Miss. I called them on the podcast at 120. Ended up getting up to 140, so I was pretty proud of that one.
Nice.
So hopefully Virginia Tech and Florida State will stay under. Still thinking like a 24-21 game on that one. That'll actually, if that game comes through, I'll actually have a positive week despite hitting a lot of losses. So let's check on the 14-point teasers because I'd like to talk about the Texas fucking Longhorns at this point, losing to Maryland for the second straight year. Another team whose coach is on administrative leave. They've got so much distraction surrounding the death of one of their players, and they still go out and beat Texas, and the score was the score was closer than the actual game indicated.
Yeah.
So that ruined one of my teasers there, but I did hit the other 14-point teaser that I gave out, which was Oregon State plus 53, USC minus 12, Notre Dame plus 14, and Hawaii with an outright win as my 24-point dog. So that was a nice one. So the teaser basically made up for a little bit of the losses, so that was kind of nice.
Yeah, that definitely helps with those teasers if you can think that for sure.
Spike didn't even laugh once, so I guess I didn't do that bad.
I mean,
You kind of chuckled with your FAU pick.
Yeah,
well, the FAU pick, yeah, because I obviously I didn't realize the score of that game because I don't have the time or patience or energy to pay attention to college football. But
can I tell you a secret?
Yeah,
I thought they were going to win the game. I thought they had a good shot to win the game. I was going to take them on the money line. I'm like, I'll take my 21 points. It actually was bet down to 17.
Damn.
Oklahoma closed as a 17-point favorite, and I think they were up by that within 4 minutes of the game. So.
Yeah.
So we'll again, if you missed our first episode of Picks and Chatter, we're going to be doing it every Friday. It'll be up on the website at vegassquares.com. You can hear it on Saturday mornings on 12 Ounce Sports Radio. I believe it's at 8 a.m. Eastern, which is it's 11 a.m. Eastern, which is 8 a.m. Pacific time. I'm all fucked up with time zones and shit.
Didn't you just get back from the East Coast? Shouldn't you know what the Eastern time zone is?
I know what it is, but I was thinking 8 a.m. East, which I was thinking, well, no, it doesn't come on at 5. All I know is that it comes on at 11 a.m. Eastern time for an hour, which puts us the last show you hear on 12 Ounce Sports Radio right before college football starts.
Ah.
So that's
nice.
Clever.
So get your last minute bets in, or light your money on fire, as Token Tony likes to say.
Or it can go either way.
Yeah. I'm curious to see, after this first weekend, some of the books across the country and the handles that they took. I had a guy tweet me on Twitter, well, obviously, But I had a guy tweet me that he was sitting in Atlantic City betting on his phone, and he was asking, and he listened to our podcast.
Oh, wow.
And he listened to our Tennessee pick and decided to fade us.
Nice. Good fade.
And I told him,
good fade if you're listening.
Yeah, tail us or fade us. That choice is yours, sir.
Yeah, well, he's clearly smarter than anybody
he's
in
smarter
this
than
podcast,
the average bear.
so.
Yeah, exactly. So we need to put him on payroll.
Yeah.
Because he's 1-0 versus I think I went 5-6 this week. So.
Yeah, well, if it makes you guys feel any better, again, obviously I am not the college football king, but I did find an 8-team parlay that I was like, you know what, this looks pretty good. I kind of read up a little bit about each game, and I was like, yeah, these picks make sense. All right, I'm going to throw, I think I usually do like $5 in a parlay. I threw $10 at this one because I felt confident. First game fucking lost. Purdue -1. It's like,
Whoops.
Whoops. Not a great start to the college football betting season for me.
And you're probably going to retire after that one. Down 1 unit.
I might.
Or down 2 units
Down
if you
2
bet
units,
$5.
yeah. Down 2 units.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's put a bow on most of the week 1 of the college football season because we won't be aired as far as the Florida State and Miami games will be over at that point. So we'll talk about on our next podcast. We'll actually have NFL picks on there as well, and more of your NCAA picks. And Spike's going to join us because he's going to make some NFL picks because we gotta make fun of him somehow.
Yeah, no, I need to be in here fucking up his bet as you guys are, so that way it stays even.
Yeah, Spike's going to get a new haircut for the show. He's going to get a fade. Anyways, all right, let's move on to the NFL as I talk about that. Are you ready to make your wager on Week 1's Thursday night game? Because we won't be on. We'll be on Tuesday, but we won't be on until after that game. So this is your chance to make your first foray into it.
I'd like to, but I actually haven't looked at the game yet. I haven't.
Eagles and the Falcons.
I haven't tried to handicap it at all yet, so I don't necessarily know. Obviously,
fair enough. Anthony and I will talk about the game while you decide to make your pick.
Yeah,
Anthony.
What is the line and the total right now?
Currently, I see +2. It actually moved a half a point.
So the Eagles are 2-point favorites.
Yes, it was 2.5 earlier when I looked in the morning.
So we'll let you have the hook. We'll give you Eagles -2.5, or you can take the Falcons.
Eagles -2.5, Falcons.
Anyways, while he's thinking that out,
I got to ponder this a little bit.
Token, it's been decided now that Nick Foles will start Week 1 and not Carson Wentz because Coach Doug Peterson has come out and said that Carson Wentz has not been cleared for contact at this point.
Yes, I think that's a good move on the Eagles for their whole season liability, in my mind.
Okay. Well, I mean, looking at this, I mean, let's take a look at the line. I mean, I'm guessing that line was put out with the belief that Nick Foles would be the starter.
I believe so, yeah.
I would imagine with Carson Wentz, based on what Vegas did last year, and moving the line so much when Foles stepped in, I would imagine that with a Wentz start, they would have been up in the 4.5 range at that point, especially with a home.
Yeah, that's exactly the number I was thinking of. Yeah. Even the money line right now at 2, it's -130 for the Eagles and +110 for the Falcons. And earlier when I looked, it was -145 for the Eagles and +125 for the Falcons. And I still like the Falcons in this spot. I mean, I think their defense will chew up the Eagles. I think the Eagles not having LeGarrette Blount anymore is going to be a downfall and not open up their passing game.
Yeah, I'm on the other side of this. I think even with all the turmoil and question marks and whatever word you want to use there, I still think this team is really good. And you talk about losing LeGarrette Blount, but I'm going to read you off their list. They have Jay Ajayi, Darren Sproles, Corey Clement. That's not a bad little stable of running back still. I think Jay Ajayi is theoretically the same as LeGarrette Blount in terms of a heavy hitter who can run north and south, and he's faster than LeGarrette Blount. The defense is going to be on the field a lot more. in my opinion, this game because the Falcons' defense is pretty good against the run, and I think that they're going to use the run. The Eagles will basically to keep, even though he's the Super Bowl MVP, I think they're still going to keep Nick Foles trapped in a box a little bit offensively, and I think that the defense may be on the field a little more than they usually would be used to. So hopefully they've been conditioned and trained during the preseason, the offseason, to play a little bit more as long as Nick Foles is under center.
Yeah, build that endurance up a little. And
that being said, Spike looks like he's ready to make a pick.
I am, and actually, Tony, I don't know what site you're looking at. I was just on William Hill, and the Falcons are still plus 125 money line, so I jumped on that. I don't. Foles is good, but he's not consistently good, and he has the ability to put up a stinker at any given time. And I think a Week 1 matchup where he probably doesn't have the film on the new look Falcons defense, and I don't know that he's going to be able to overcome something like that. If he has a good game, he has a good game, so be it. I still like what the Falcons offense can produce, but I just don't have enough confidence in the Eagles offense to be able to match what the Falcons are doing, so I'm going to take Falcons money line on this one.
All right. Well, I'm gonna take the other side because I still think Philadelphia can win this game, and I think they are going to win this game. It would buck a trend of Super Bowl champions losing on the opening weekend, but Westgate actually, based on what I'm reading right now, has Philadelphia as a 1-point favorite.
Wow.
Whereas the consensus here across Vegas Insiders 2.5 points.
Yeah. William Hill is 2.5.
So maybe they're just baiting me into taking it, but I think a lot of people are on Atlanta at this point.
Yeah, I've asked some people yesterday when some of the college games were going on, and I asked them specifically about that Thursday night opening game. And I want to say about 4 out of 5 said Atlanta.
Yeah, I think Philadelphia
on average
won't look pretty, but you don't necessarily have to, win with style points in the NFL. A win is a win. It's not it's not a sexy win like we talked about in college football. A 2-point win's a win. It goes in the W column. I think I'm gonna lay that point. I'll probably hit the Westgate on my phone here, and I'll lay that point. I'll take Philadelphia. The money line right now at Westgate is minus 125, which doesn't really seem to correlate with a 1-point favorite to me. So I'll take the point. Remember we talked about that in that one podcast about laying the point or taking the money line.
Yeah,
it just depends.
Yeah, minus 125, and
for a 1-point favorite.
For a 1-point favorite, yeah.
That seems high.
Right. So I'll lay the point. You guys may be right with Atlanta. I'll take the point. I think Philadelphia's overall team is good. Obviously they won a Super Bowl and they only got better with Bennett and Nada. Alshon Jeffrey being out creates kind of a problem for me, but I think Foles can. I think running backs will do enough to win this game. So. Let's talk about some things that are going on at the start of the season because there's been a little bit of movement. I know you guys want to talk about the big one, but let's talk about Jerick McKinnon first going out with an ACL injury and how that affects the 49ers and, fantasy drafts too.
Yeah. Well, fantasy drafts especially because he was
usually a third-round pick, maybe fourth, depending on how many teams you got.
Yeah, I mean, that seemed like the type of pick that a lot of people were banking on either.
Especially in PPR leagues.
Yeah, this was going to be Garoppolo's target, and now, fucking hell.
So that leaves, let's look fantasy-wise, that leaves Alfred Morris and Matt Breida. I hate to say it, but I'm going to go with Breida. Matt Breida as the fantasy options in San Francisco, and the the running back options in San Francisco. Alfred Morris is obviously the more, veteran running back.
Yeah.
But Breida, actually, I was pretty shocked. I actually thought he would be the starting running back until they brought McKinnon in. And he still may have been even with McKinnon because McKinnon's that shifty receiving threat, James White kind of style. Breida's the bruiser who could get you that 3rd and 1. So I know in our fantasy league you picked up Alfred Morris.
Yeah, and that may or may not stick around. It's just I wanted the replacement for McKinnon as quickly as I could, and I just kind of did a no research grab just to make sure I had somebody on my roster. But I got to go back and look and see who else is still out there.
Yeah, I mean, Alfred Morris is projected by those close to San Francisco as who's going to be the early down back. I think that's just to get him out of the gate, the starting experience. I think over the course of the year they may see what they have in Breda. But it may not be the worst thing if Morris is the hot hand. They may ride him. So
yeah.
Breda basically last year averaged 4 to 5 touches a game. This year he's projected to average 8 to 11 touches per game. So, I would say nothing wrong with the Alfred Morris pickup, at least early in the season. And he's not your starter. So, well, I guess in our league everybody's a starter.
Everybody's a starter, which is the problem with the fucking league. Jesus Christ.
That's not a problem. That makes it awesome.
Are you kidding? I'm going to have to drop a fucking...
That's what makes it awesome. In the bye weeks, you got to drop a guy.
Oh, my God. I might get stubborn and just hold on to...
you might take a 0.
To the Pittsburgh guys.
You got Le'Veon?
I got Le'Veon and Antonio Brown.
Man, how the fuck did you do... Oh, because you had the 4th pick.
Yeah.
So you took him at 4, and Le'Veon went to 4?
Yeah.
No, I have Le'Veon.
Yeah, wait, who do I have? No, hang on.
Anyways,
now I gotta look.
Token, what are your thoughts basically on, is this really that detrimental to Jimmy Garoppolo at this point?
I think it definitely moves some lines and some future odds at the start of the season. I mean, it's definitely his main target to go to, and one of the impact players for him.
See, I think more so than his main target, I think it's his safety blanket, because I think Marquise Goodwin and Pierre Garçon are going to have pretty good years for as long as Jimmy Garoppolo plays well. So, you missing your Le'Veon Bell there?
Yeah, no, Token was right. The other Pittsburgh guy that I have is Juju Smith-Schuster.
Juju.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gonna take a 0 on him when it's bye week?
Maybe I can.
Because it's kind of a strategic play, because it's number of points scored throughout the year. It's not per week.
Yeah.
So he may take a 0 one week, but he may be worth 2 receivers the next week. Especially Antonio Brown. That guy could put up.
Yeah.
That guy could put up 100 points a week in our league. Maybe not that much.
Yeah.
But.
Actually, probably, yeah, he could.
What's Antonio Brown projected to get week 1 in our fantasy league, our high-scoring fantasy league?
40.2.
40.2. So, yeah, if he puts up the points of 2 receivers, he could put up 80 points a week. So,
yeah.
All right, well, the Buffalo Bills have canceled their A.J. McCarron experiment.
Yep.
They have decided to ship him over to be David Carter's backup or third string. I'm going to just admit right here, put my foot in my mouth, I got this one way wrong. I thought he would be their starting quarterback, and I thought he would lead them to a 10-6 record this year.
Wow.
So I'll eat some crow with that, and you guys can. I'll give you the floor here to explain why I'm so wrong.
Go ahead, Token. I'm going to let you start this one.
Okay. Yeah, I see a dumpster fire in here. I mean,
Was that it?
pretty much, yeah.
Okay. It was just a little cut on the wrist. I don't feel so bad with that one, but
Yeah. I mean, if A.J. McCarron is obviously the better quarterback than
Josh
Peterman.
Allen and Peterman.
He's better than Josh Allen. So the question is Buffalo tanking this year, or do they actually think they can win games between these two quarterbacks?
Well, before I let you continue, let's just look at this. This little nugget. Baltimore-Buffalo opened up at 3-point spread in favor of Baltimore. It is now 7.5 across the board. So, carry on.
Wow. So
Only 4-point movement.
Exactly.
Buffalo must think they have something with one of these guys.
Right.
Because they're obviously not going to let McCarron go if they don't think that these other two guys can hack it. The only other thing that would make sense is if, for some reason, McCarron couldn't understand the Buffalo playbook and they just got sick of it and threw him out. I don't think that's the scenario. I have no reason to back that up, but we've seen it time and time again in New England where they take these veteran, great receivers that are on the last legs of their careers, they come into New England and they pretty much to a man all flame out because none of them can figure out the New England offense.
Right.
So it's possible that McCarron was having as much trouble with this playbook as some of these receivers in New England, but I doubt it. I think this is just Buffalo decided that Allen is the quarterback of the future. Allen is going to be their guy, and they're okay going 3-13 this year if it means getting Allen a couple more weapons and a better protection for next year.
Yeah, my favorite is McDermott, the coach. When asked who was going to start week 1, who was in the race, he basically, quote unquote, said, A.J. McCarron is absolutely in the race to start week 1. I just don't think he meant for the Raiders. And I'm pretty sure he's not in the race to start for the Raiders week 1.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Although Carr hasn't impressed me the last few times I've watched him.
I mean, McCarron played the full game against the Bears in the fourth preseason game. In the first 3 quarters, his passer rating was 0. But he finished the game 13 of 34 for 156 yards and 3 touchdowns. In the fourth quarter, he shined. Fourth preseason game, fourth quarter, he's not playing anybody. Is that just more the testament? Yeah, he had a great fourth quarter of the preseason in the fourth game, but that's against basically guys who are going to get a pink slip in their locker room.
Yeah, these are future Home Depot employees.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's... I'm shocked that he wasn't able to hang on to a roster spot in Buffalo.
But it just shocks me because, and again, what he did on the field we see, and that's the reason he got shipped out. But when McCarron was projected as the starter, Baltimore was only a 3-point favorite. Now that Peterman or Allen is projected to be the starter, it's gone up 4 points. So again, Vegas isn't the be all end all, but that's a tell.
Yeah, that's massive.
Who do you go with if you're McDermott?
Allen.
Yeah, I think so.
I throw him out there and I say, fuck it, if we go 0-16, so be it.
You're going to get some reps.
Yeah, to get the reps, get used to the NFL, get used to the speed, get used to getting hit, and go out there and, try not to get killed.
Yeah, who do you go with, Togan?
You might as well just start Allen, yeah. Make it an experiment. I mean, what's the worst that could happen?
It's true. It's fair enough. Yeah, like you said, I really thought the Bills, with McCarron and the talent they have on defense and, the weapons, hopefully McCoy had a decent season. I honestly thought that the Patriots are definitely going to take a step back this year. I thought if there was any challenger in the division, it might have been them.
Yeah, no, and you're right, especially from what we saw last year with them earning a wild card. But again, even with the Patriots taking a step back, the Patriots are going to win the AFC East.
It seems like that way now, yeah. Unless Sam Darnold's just all-world great.
Yeah, fuck off. So it's...
hey, be realistic, man. That guy's not bad. I like him.
You're right, he isn't bad. But,
he's not winning it this year, but...
This may have been Buffalo almost strategically saying that not only are they just going to get Allen reps regardless of what his record is, but they're just going to bide their time until Brady retires.
Yeah, and it seemed like last year they were in that quiet rebuilding mode. They shipped out Ragland, they shipped out a couple of guys on their team, Marcel Darius. They seemed like they were in that, let's, clear the floor except for LaShawn McCoy. I mean, obviously they've shipped out Tyrod, or they didn't re-sign Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah.
There was like a quiet rebuild, and they fucking made the AFC wildcard game.
Yeah.
So now you've got, Bills' expectations, and then you're going to go back to a rebuild. It's be an interesting year in Buffalo.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, those fans are all to a man completely rational and level-headed. So,
yeah, I mean,
they are going to take this very well.
Yeah, they don't call them the Bills Mafia for no reason.
Yeah, and this is the kind of news that makes me want to buy stock in folding tables because that is their pastime.
Their MO, yeah.
Jumping through
flaming
them.
Folding tables.
Yeah.
So would you get flame-resistant folding tables or biodegradable folding tables?
I want people to buy as many of them as possible, so they have to destroy the ones that they buy.
Yeah. Who's the best brand of folding tables? Because everybody's on bended knee listening for the next stock quote tip. I don't even know who makes one.
Neither do I. I was going to throw out a name. I'm sure Tesla makes one, so let's say that.
Fine, I'll take IKEA.
Yeah.
I'll take IKEA folding
Yeah,
tables.
the fucking Tesla makes everything, so why not?
All right, let's talk about the elephant in the NFL, and that's Khalil Mack. Big move right here before the start of the season. Khalil Mack, I'll just first say this, I'm not to toot my own horn, but I am very high on Chicago Bears defense this year. Fantasy-wise, on the field-wise, just real-life-wise. They were really good last year despite the offense being terrible. And they just got Khalil Mack.
Yeah.
So, that being said, one, are they winning the division? And two, do they have if you say no, do they have a chance to compete for it in the next 2 years with this defense and Mitchell Trubisky?
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they
already had him as a dark horse division winner at this point. I'm not saying Khalil Mack makes the end-all, be-all, but they definitely have a small window to build the team through the draft because their first-round picks for the next 2 years are gone. They're in Oakland. But I don't know. I think Trubisky, the more they build that defense, take a look at this. Okay, we have a defense that was number 3 total in the league last year. We have Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen, who are capable running backs both on the ground and through the air, correct? Anybody disagree with that at this point?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that
They have an offensive line that's middle of the road, basically, statistically. All they need is, realistically, Trubisky to be average. They gave up 18 points a game last year on defense.
Yeah.
Trubisky, between Trubisky and Howard, they were 5-11 last year. They beat Pittsburgh. They beat Kansas City. They beat playoff teams. I think this team can win 9-10 games this year. Again, can win. I'm not booking it, but I can win.
I still don't have enough faith in Trubisky to be even a good game manager to the point that they can go, that they can make a serious push for the division.
I'll book 8 wins. 8. If there's less than 8 wins, you guys can make fun of me, but I'll book 8 wins.
I think 8 is a reasonable number in that division.
And with the craziness of the NFL, ball bounces one way or the other. That 8 could turn into 10. It could also turn into 6, but it could turn into 10.
Absolutely can, and I would lean towards Chicago Bears being on the better side of the bounces, for sure.
Yeah, signs a 6-year, $135 million extension, or $141 million extension.
Jesus Christ.
That's good news for like Jadeveon Clowney and DeMarcus Lawrence, guys who are coming up. God, it's just crazy how one guy. We talk about this with quarterbacks, Brady and et cetera. How you can give that much of your salary cap to one guy and still expect that.
Absolutely, yeah.
I was listening to Colin the other day, and he said that the only Super Bowl winning quarterback in the last 20 years to have more than 17% of the salary cap was Peyton Manning.
Wow.
No one else with above 17% of the salary cap has won a Super Bowl.
Huh.
In 20 years. It's crazy to think, isn't it?
Wow. That is crazy.
You can look at the guys. Aaron Rodgers, when he won the Super Bowl, he wasn't, 20% of the salary, or 17% of the salary cap.
Right.
And that was a lower salary cap back then.
Yeah.
10 years ago or so.
Even
8 years ago.
Even Big Ben was still.
Big Ben's last Super Bowl appearance was in that same game with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And his last win was 2009. And he wasn't, the mega deal at that point.
Right.
Brady's. I think Colin said Brady's salary cap figure right now is like 13%. So, and it's under the 15. It's under the 17, and he's making Super Bowls and winning them. So, it just strikes me that the most important position on the field, taking up that much of the salary cap, is bad for your team. I can only imagine a defensive lineman, a linebacker, a wide receiver, a la Odell Beckham Jr. Commanding that much of your salary cap. And being virtually a replaceable player. I understand Odell Beckham Jr. is a transcendent talent, maybe one of the best in the league, but you could replace him with 3 wide receivers of good value.
Yeah. And the flip side of that is I don't think the owner... this is going to sound weird, but the owners are going to be more concerned with getting the return on the investment. So if they're putting that money into that superstar player, then they just want money coming back in, which means jersey sales, butts in seats, concession sales, and
and advertising dollars.
Right. So bringing a guy like that in, like the point I'm making is that we're not going to see these salaries go away because the players are too important, even if they are essentially pricing themselves or pricing the team out of the Super Bowl based on the salary that they're trying to get.
Sure.
Owners are still going to pay it. We're not going to see
the owner mentality. Do I want to win rings or do I want to make dollars?
Right, and the owner is never going to say, or the owners are never going to band together to say, you are asking for too much money, you're not going to get a contract.
Well, especially now that there's a collusion case.
Well, yeah, the collusion case is really fucked. But, we're just not going to see that era of salary starting to walk back. It's going to be...
No, I don't think they'll walk back unless there's a huge, drastic... change in the economy or even the NFL's economy.
Right. So,
let's flip it to the Las Vegas angle at this point because now, the Raiders are coming here in a couple years. That's another generational superstar that's not going to be here.
Yep.
I mean, Marshawn Lynch probably going to be gone.
Yep.
Khalil Mack, gone.
Yep.
David Carr, depending on the next 2 years, could be somewhere else if he plays average football. Even, because I think his contract ends like the year they come here. His 5-year extension. So what you basically have is, in 2020, you could potentially be coming here with just the name of John Gruden.
Yep.
And is that enough to make Las Vegans... Is it Las Vegans or Las Vegans?
Las Vegans.
Las Vegans.
Yes.
Who are vegans.
Ugh.
Is it enough to make them excited?
God.
Is it enough to excite you? I mean,
you ever dated a vegan? They're the weirdest fucking people.
No. I tried to be a vegetarian. I can't get rid of the cheese and stuff.
Yeah, okay.
It didn't work.
Yeah,
I had a steak like 4 days later.
Hey, you lasted longer than that. I probably would have.
Yeah, that's what she said.
I was vegan on accident for a day. I think that's about it.
There's days I've been vegan where I may have only had, like, a salad.
Yeah. No,
there have been days where, yes, I've only been vegan based on what I ate that day.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
But what were we talking about? Oh, the names that are coming over. I mean, granted, in free agency or the next 2 years, they've got 2 first-round picks. One of those guys could stem into, Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack was, I think, like the 6th or 7th pick in one of the drafts, a few years ago. But, it seems like these guys have to, as far as the players, they have to find the right spot that has the salary cap. It doesn't necessarily mean that Khalil Mack was dying to go to Chicago, but they had the ability to sign him. Other teams don't. Like the Patriots are very close to the salary cap ceiling, just based on what I've seen. There's a couple teams. I know that the Packers are also very close after the signing of Aaron Rodgers. So he may want to go somewhere, and with the salary cap restrictions for 53 guys, it all depends solely on who at the time has the ability to sign you or how you can work. Good talk, Token.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that. This trade for Oakland's perspective could lead to something great for the future. This year, with him trying to get so much money, I think they might have hurt themselves in the long haul more often than that.
And I'm not downplaying Khalil Mack. NFL players have a very short window to get as much money as they can. I have no problem with them asking for it. I have no problem with the owner saying no. But it seems like the Raiders are taking a lot of backlash from this. I don't hate the fact that if they weren't going to pay this guy, getting 2 first-round picks out of the deal. What do you think, Spike?
Yeah, that's actually what I was just trying to get, because I guess I just realized that for everything that I had seen about the Khalil Mack trade, I didn't actually know what they got in return. So, Bears gave up first-round picks in 2019 and 2020, third-round pick in 2020, and a sixth-round pick in 2019. Bears also got a second-round pick in 2020 and a conditional fifth in 2020.
Yeah.
So, this is the Raiders saying, you're exactly right. The Raiders were saying, we're not going to pay this guy.
He's not playing.
He's not playing. We need to make sure that our future is secure rather than just trying to impress the fans in Oakland the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. So let's get better in the future and start. It's not a full rebuild because they still have Carr, they still have Lynch, they still have weapons, they still have options. but this is for sure a movement for the future rather than for now.
True. No, that's absolutely fair. Okay, well, how about, a situation where, let's look at their first game. Did he move the line? Let's see, who do they play? They play L.A. I know they're a dog. The line opened up at Pick'em, and now across the board, the Rams are 4. Now, that's not necessarily all Khalil Mack, but I want to see. Let's see if they have the movement actually. Okay, so in the last 24 hours, the line has moved half a point. So
okay.
Does that matter? Is Khalil Mack the reason for that?
Probably. I mean, for half a point, that makes a little more sense because the Rams' offense is so potent that missing Khalil Mack should be a difference of at least half a point, maybe more.
Right. Yeah, he's a player that's worth a point.
Yeah.
Or half a point, at that point. So, well, I mean, nevertheless, I'm excited because I have a fantasy draft tonight, and I'm going to go draft Chicago's defense. And now I feel a lot better about it. Hopefully, they're not on other people's radar at this point. So, I do, however, feel bad for the quarterbacks in the NFC North.
Yes, that is going to be brutal for them now.
Yeah, he's a Lawrence Taylor.
Absolutely,
yeah. Lawrence Taylor type. But please send out thoughts and prayers to your boy Matt Stafford, Token.
Yeah, well, maybe with him getting hurt, it might free up some cap space.
They still pay him when he gets hurt.
Oh, I know, but instead of doing another contract with him in the future.
You mean 9 years down the road because you guys locked him up for a generation?
Wow.
It's okay.
Wow.
It's okay.
Hey, he's only technically the third highest paid quarterback in our division.
Yeah, but at one point, wow, in the division. That division has 3.
Oh, my God.
I didn't think about that.
No, that's insane.
Third highest in the division.
Wow.
So, anywho, well, let's wrap it up right there with the Khalil Mack trade. Again, we'll have... you guys took Atlanta. I took Philadelphia.
Yep.
So we'll talk about that on the next weekend podcast. Again, we'll have podcasts coming up Saturdays on 12 Ounce Sports Radio, and I think we're on Mondays. I said Tuesdays earlier in the podcast. We're on Saturdays and Mondays. Saturdays, you can catch us at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. That'll be our pick show. We'll have our picks from the NFL, for the NFL games, and for the NCAA college football games for that week as well. And you can catch us on our other podcast where we just dribble around about sports and maybe some recreational sports betting on Mondays. That one is at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific.
That sounds right.
Yeah, sounds good. So
yeah.
We want to thank all the folks over at 12 Ounce Sports Radio, again, as always, for putting on our Neanderthalic dumb shit we talk about.
You went with Neanderthalic, so I thought you were going to use another SAT word to describe to help describe what Neanderthalic object it was, and then you went with
Neanderthalic diction,
dumb shit,
or Neanderthalic verbiage. How about that?
All right,
is that SAT?
Perfect. Yes.
All right. What's the SAT version of "Go fuck yourself"? Anyways, I want to thank all our sponsors, 12 Ounce Sports Radio, VGK Pop Sockets, and ChaiPoker.com. We want to thank the fans and listeners for tuning in. Okay, just listeners. We don't have fans. Yeah. Why do you look at me every time I say something? Hey, people listen. We got a tweet. We get tweets back from time. We're growing.
All right, I like that.
So, yeah, they're fading us, but we're growing.
Yeah. I mean, they listen to the podcast, they realize that we're fucking morons, and then they pick against us.
That's why the tagline is "Tail us or fade us." It's your choice. So they choose the latter. Anyways, so. Thanks, Terry.
Hey, remember everybody for this NFL season, don't rip up your tickets until games are over either.
Sound advice.
Yes.
Stay out of dark alleys and don't rip up your tickets. And wash behind your ears. Get that cord out of your mouth. Spike just bought a new pair of headphones. All right, well, again, here's the Neanderthalic verbiage I was talking about. So with that, as you've already turned it off, I'll just end it here. Thank you very much for listening. Take care, and we'll see you on the next podcast.